It's frustrating to watch the injury list grow and wonder if Santa Clara is only putting out fires. But beneath those names, a far more calculated process is unfolding. Short-term deals, revealing cuts, veterans testing their bodies, and a clear effort to protect the stars before September. Faithful, lock in. Today we're going behind the scenes to separate emergency reactions from real planning and see where John Lynch may still act to sustain a championship run, because quiet August decisions often determine who survives in January. If you track every Niners signal, subscribe to 49 ERTZ Express right now. Wednesday's transaction sheet looks modest, but it tells a very specific story about how the 49ers are managing camp. KhaDarel, Hodge, and Ogbo Okoronkwo arrive on one-year contracts. Kevin Givens and Cameron Sample leave the roster. Those names are moving for a reason. The goal is to redistribute reps, protect players from wear, and read the health of the group every single day. Hodge, 31, comes in as a veteran whose biggest value lives on special teams. He made the Pro Bowl with Atlanta in 2024 and has also spent time with the Rams, Browns, Lions, and Falcons. Across 118 games, he has 67 catches for 1,026 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those numbers do not put him in line to lead the passing game, but they show he can handle offensive snaps when needed. With so many receivers unavailable, his immediate job is to absorb August work without forcing the top group to carry every rep. Okoronkwo is a different kind of insurance. A former 5th-round pick by the Rams, he played only one game for the Eagles last season because of a triceps injury. In 2024, though, he recorded 3 sacks in 16 games for the Browns. His career totals include 17 sacks and 31 tackles for loss across 81 games. He is not arriving as a miracle fix. He is an experienced pass rusher who can compete for a defined role while the coaching staff measures who is truly ready. Sample's release may be the most interesting detail in this move. The optimistic read is that San Francisco's defensive ends are getting healthy enough for the team to let someone go before preseason games sharpen the evaluation. Givens' departure creates another calculation inside the defensive tackle rotation. That is how the board talks behind closed doors. Every arrival reveals a need, and every exit shows where the coaches believe they have room. Hodge protects the offense through camp. Okoronkwo raises the competition on the edge. Practice will decide whether that roster engineering created real depth or only temporary breathing room. While John Lynch reorganizes the bottom of the roster, a veteran working just a few miles from Santa Clara deserves to enter the conversation. Zach Ertz has been training at Stanford with his former quarterback Andrew Luck after recovering from a torn ACL. According to Adam Schefter, Ertz has been cleared for all football activities and intends to play this season. For now, that proximity puts his name on the radar. Any move by San Francisco would still require genuine interest and a full evaluation. Ertz is 35, so nobody should expect the player who stacked Pro Bowl appearances at his peak. He still produced 504 yards and 4 touchdowns for Washington last season. For a team that learned the hard way how one absence can reshape an entire offense, that recent production deserves a look. George Kittle has encouraging signs pointing toward Week 1, but he missed half of last season with a hamstring issue. Betting on the entire schedule unfolding without another scare would be an expensive kind of confidence. But faithful, this is the part nobody should ignore. Ertz's potential value would not begin with replacing Kittle. It would begin with keeping Kyle Shanahan from tearing apart the offensive plan if Kittle needs a breather, a lighter snap count, or a game off. Jake Tongas answered the call last season and should not be pushed out of the rotation. With all 3, Shanahan could shift responsibilities, preserve his top tight end, and build packages with 2 or even 3 players at the position. That changes how the run looks, creates interchangeable blockers and targets, and forces the defense to declare its personnel before the snap. The contract would have to match the role. A one-year deal loaded with incentives would make sense if Ertz is willing to compete as a veteran rotational piece and insurance behind Kittle. If he wants a guaranteed starting job, Santa Clara probably is not the right destination. The Niners still have factors working in their favor. Stanford is close, Ertz could remain in a familiar part of the country, and he would have a chance to play for an ambitious team without carrying the entire position himself. That local access is what makes this worth watching behind the scenes. Lynch would not have to make an offer in the dark. He can watch the workout, speak with the medical staff, and find out how much mobility, strength, and confidence has returned after the injury. The name is appealing, but his body and his willingness to accept the role decide everything. If the evaluation is positive and the price protects the club, Ertz would be less of a nostalgic signing and more of an offensive insurance policy with real strategic value in January. He would also put a veteran in the locker room who knows how to read coverage and clean up details when the pressure rises. Wednesday's practice gives us the least comfortable snapshot of that strategy. Nick Bosa, Osa Odigizua, and Dre Greenlaw will sit with general soreness. That looks like precautionary workload management. The louder concern comes from the new absences. Carver Willis is in the concussion protocol. Kyle Juszczyk is dealing with a finger injury. Jacob Cowing has a hip flexor issue. And Brett Toth will not practice either, although the reason was not disclosed. Cowing is operating on a different clock. Mike Evans, Dejon Stribling, and Christian Kirk remain out, so there is room for a young receiver to gain ground. Cowing cannot claim that opening from the sideline. Junior Bergen is pushing from behind, and Cowing's injury history reduces the patience that usually follows a developing player. A hip flexor can cost weeks even in a mild case. The actual recovery timeline will determine how much this competition changes. The absences of Toth and Willis also hit a second-team offense that was already struggling. With this many players out, many of those reps are really going to third and fourth stringers. Execution slips, evaluation becomes noisier, and even the quarterback loses a clean picture of who should be doing what. That is the hidden cost of an overcrowded training room. It does not only remove talent, it also distorts the environment the staff uses to choose the roster. There is at least one positive answer. Rookie defensive tackle Grayson Halton returned after missing several practices with a bone bruise in his knee. His presence restores one piece to the rotation while the rest of the group is being managed. Camp has reached the stage where availability stops being a medical footnote and becomes a lineup argument. For Cowing and every player on the margin, the next healthy practice may carry more weight than an entire week of promise. Christian McCaffrey sits at the center of this entire conversation about preservation. He enters his 10th season after leading the NFL and setting a career high with 413 touches in 2025. He turned that volume into 2,126 scrimmage yards, 17 touchdowns, and Comeback Player of the Year, a monumental response after appearing in only 4 games in 2024. At 30, he has shown no visible decline in camp. The real challenge is refusing to confuse excellence with invulnerability. Chris Forster, serving as interim head coach while Kyle Shanahan recovers from injuries sustained in a car accident, said McCaffrey has looked decisive, is running hard downhill, and is intensely focused. According to Forster, the running back is hitting the hole hard, moving without hesitation, and bringing a no-nonsense approach to the season. That report is exciting because it speaks to explosion and clarity, not just conditioning. It also raises the staff's responsibility. When a superstar looks ready to handle everything, the temptation to ask for everything returns. San Francisco plans to manage that workload more carefully in 2026, but the plan behind the scenes has hit a snag. Rookie Kalen Black is dealing with an adductor injury, while Jordan James is working back from a fractured rib. They are competing for the primary backup role and should be taking the exact reps McCaffrey does not need. With both sidelined, other backs get development time, but the staff loses a chance to test its best candidates under ideal conditions and learn who can truly ease the burden during the season that turns 413 touches from a tribute into an operational warning. McCaffrey can keep dominating at 30. His talent, preparation, and current camp all support that belief. San Francisco cannot build another campaign around the assumption that he must solve every third down, every late-game series, and every week when injuries hit the players around him. Preserving him does not mean taking the ball away from the best player when the game is on the line. It means finding someone capable of handling 10 or 12 useful plays before the scoreboard forces the offense to depend on him. The returns of Black and James deserve as much attention as any spectacular McCaffrey run in August. Every missed day delays the answer the coaching staff needs before September. Who keeps the offense functional while Christian rests? The internal mission is to build that trust without taking away the preparation McCaffrey himself still needs. Faithful, sound off in the comments with "Protect CMC" if you also believe this championship run depends on managing his body intelligently. The best version of McCaffrey still looks special. Now the roster has to prove it knows how to help him arrive whole when the games demand everything. That is a collective responsibility, not a restriction placed on the superstar. Everything happening behind the scenes in Santa Clara is delivering the same message through different moves. Talent is not enough once availability starts running camp. Hodge and Okoronkwo provide breathing room. Ertz could become experienced insurance. Cowing is fighting the clock, and McCaffrey needs a plan that preserves his power for the decisive stretch. The good news is that the 49ers are reading the signals. The demand is turning those signals into solutions before September chooses for them. Faithful, let me know where you stand. Would you give Zach Ertz a one-year deal today to protect the offense? Answer in the comments and subscribe to 49ers Express.